fake.
This is the way. Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Tells me you're relentless.
Hello, critics, non-critics, and friends. Welcome to the Film Optix podcast, brought to you by the Drive-In Podcast Network, where we discuss film, TV, and all things Hollywood. I'm your host, Christian, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Devin. And we're joined by two special guests today. We have Griff Schiller from Film Speak and Ryan McQuaid from In Session Film and Award Watch. How is everyone doing today? Doing good?
I'm great.
I'm wonderful. Yeah? I'm wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm as great as Griffin, if not more.
I don't know if you want to be that.
I'll be. I'm
great.
pretty great. Okay. I'm stupendous, marvelous. Yeah, pretty much like what Griffin is, like double that. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Well, considering I've had a very stressful week, I don't know if you want that. So
the double the stress. Bring it on. Let's go. I'll take on. I'll take on all
double
comers.
Negative and negative.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Double negative.
I'm gonna take those two negatives, make it a positive. Right?
There you go.
That's why you have Ryan on here, the voice of positivity.
Literally.
Griff's like, I'm just gonna be sad and depressed, and I'm just gonna be on here in a nice ray of sunshine.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
It's kind of like me and Devin, but he's a ray of sunshine, just in different ways. Always has something interesting to say during the podcast. But in this episode, everyone out there listening, we're going to be reviewing the latest film that hit theaters this past weekend, and that is No Time to Die, Daniel Craig's last ride as James Bond. And before we begin today's podcast, you can listen to our show on multiple platforms around the internet. And if you're a new or seasoned listener to the show, we would love to hear from you guys. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Film Optix. That is Optix with an X. Just really quick, everyone, like how's everyone's week actually been? Because I'm very, very excited that it's the weekend, but I've had a very crazy week. Man, oh man, I don't even know where to begin. So really quick, before we get into our No Time to Die review, I was supposed to go see The Last Duel, Ryan, yesterday, but I ran into this issue and I was like, okay, we have No Time to Die. And I was trying to figure out when to watch it. And I had tickets for like an early showing on Wednesday at like 7:00 p.m. here, but it started storming so bad. I'm like, I can't make it anymore. I just started a new shift at work. By the time I got back, it would have been like 1:00 in the morning. And I'm like, I can't run off like 3 hours of sleep. So I had to skip that. And I had to skip my Last Duel screener because I wanted to see it so badly. I told them that I couldn't make it. And I was like, hey, I didn't want to like leave you guys high and dry because I know a lot of people do that. But, keep me in mind for future events.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in like the middle of the busiest time I've ever been as a film critic, because I went to 2 screenings this week, and I have a screening next week. I have family coming over this weekend. We're going to see friends tonight, and at a dinner and all this other stuff. And then next week I go fly across the country to go to the Middleburg Film Festival, and then I come back and I go to the Austin Film Festival. So, if I find sleep and time to talk to anybody that's like, not my wife or people randomly on an airplane, then that would be an accomplishment and a win at this point. So, but yeah, we're like right still in the midst of being busy, but like I was telling you guys, like I was doing an errand right before doing this, and it was like James Bond maneuvering myself the way home. So yeah, it's nuts. It's crazy. I mean, I hope Griffin has a better weekend than he had a week. I mean, it sounds like
I know. Griffin, tell us about your week, man.
Yeah, it sounds like he was about to jump off a bridge.
No, not really. A couple days ago maybe, but it's just been. I agree. I mean, it is one of the busiest times for like just being a critic, and like I have a job editing for a YouTuber, so it's like balancing that with like getting my scripts written for my videos, and then like
great
trying
videos.
to have everything out.
Great.
Thank you.
Seriously though, yeah.
And then just like trying to have everything out in a timely manner, and like I'm already not going to have my No Time to Die video out until like probably beginning mid next week. Thankfully, I'll have a Casino Royale video out shortly. So it's just like balancing a bunch of different things and then balancing personal life. I mean, it's the juggle that we all sort of have to do. So it's nothing like unique to me, but it just has been an incredibly taxing week. But that's why I'm glad that Bond is coming out, because then I can go see it again and just be stoked on it. So
that would be the 7th time Griffin has seen the film already, by the way.
Yeah, I think.
Well, and surprisingly, it'll only have been the third. So
really,
those are rookie numbers, man. You gotta get those numbers.
No, I'm honestly ashamed. I was gonna go. So I had a chance to see this movie 3 times before it even came out. And I only got to see it once. Twice before it came out, and the third time I had to like skip because of a different thing that I had going on.
Some of us just saw it once before it came out, but
Well, you know what? You talk about getting numbers up. You got to get those numbers.
Well, some of us, I'm like, well, I want everybody else to see it too. I'm not greedy, Griff.
I don't want people to. I don't want anyone else to see it. As long as I get to see it,
it's your precious. Right?
It's mine. That's it. Everyone else, goodbye. It was just by chance that sort of happened. But anyways.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you guys have had a crazy but hectic week. Devin, how's your week been?
I've just been chilling, no stress at all.
I want Devin's life.
Bad.
Devin,
that is
live with you.
I can take some stress off of you. Don't worry.
Right. I still want to go to the film festival, but you can take all the other bullshit that we have to deal with. So
Yeah, you can write a review for me for in session film.
Anybody can. Just take away the I think it's not even like the movie stress, because the movie stress is just like, oh my God, people are listening like, oh, you guys get to go to movies and see them. Oh, you guys got to do reviews. Oh my God, it's like, solve other crisis around the country, or whatever. But like, no, it's a lot of work, and I admire Griffin, I admire you guys, and a lot of others that just put in so much time and effort into all this. It really is another sort of job within a job. It's like the inception of life. So
yeah. Seriously, thank you for the kind words. Likewise to both of you guys. I mean, everything I've seen from Griffin's angle, like he's like a one-man machine. It honestly feels like, and honestly, with everything you guys, everything from In Session. Now that I'm kind of more on the writing side, I mean, it's not my strong suit, but I do it because I wanted to become a better critic. And
I wasn't the best. I wasn't the best at first, and I've had the fortune of working with some great people and some great editors, and Griffin being one of them, and just people that trust in you, and you take all that and you sort of try to get better and better and better as you go on through each piece, and you'll be fine.
Thanks. I get so nervous. I'm like, crap, do I sound like I'm making sense here? Like, I'm not entirely sure, but it always comes out.
Most really smart people that write for major publications don't make sense. They're actually quite terrible. So
that is very true.
They get paid to do it.
Yeah, we're doing this for free.
And you sit there and you go,
Well, man, I'll send you the bill eventually.
I just moved. I'm sorry.
Sorry, guys. But yeah, oh man, it's great to have everyone here. We've been trying to branch out more to get more people. We've been a little lonely here in the podcast. I'm not going to lie. It's usually just me, Devin. We'll have either Leah or Amanda on from time to time. But we want to bring on some new faces. So without further ado, we're going to get into our No Time to Die review. Of course, we'll be getting into non-spoilers first, and then when you hear this bad boy, that means we'll be getting into spoilers. So we'll be right back with our No Time to Die review right after this short break.
James Bond. We both eradicate people to make the world a better place. I just want to be a little tidier.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our No Time to Die review. I'm going to pass it over to Devin because I'm terrible when it comes to pronouncing stars and especially directors' names. So, Devin, take it away, and then I'll get us going.
I don't know if I can pull this one off, but Cary, Joji, Fukunaga. That sounds right. Feels right. Fukunaga? Yeah.
Yeah.
Starring Daniel Craig, Ana de Armas, Rami Malek, Leia Seydoux. I'm not sure about that one.
Yep, you got that.
Shauna Lynch.
Yeah.
There you go, Devin. You get a nice little congratulations. But
We try.
Yeah, I mean, we try. I literally butcher it every time, and I'm like, I can't. This needs to stop. Either I need to get better, or I need to get them to do it for me. So, but we're going to get into our initial reactions first. As I mentioned before, with the break, we'll do initial reactions first, and then we'll do a little bit more breakdowns here and there. We'll get into predictions of really quick of who could be the next James Bond. Then we'll get into our ratings, and then we'll just get the heck out of here because we're a little bit pressed for time, but we're going to make the most of what we have. But I wanted to pass it back over to our wonderful guest. I guess we'll start with my editor-in-chief over here, Ryan McQuaid, about his initial reaction of the film. And then we'll go to Griffin, and then we'll do Devin, and then I'll go last.
I mean, I've only seen the movie once. I think we established that. I've only seen it once.
He's basically saying he's not qualified to give.
Yeah, exactly. I bow down to Griffin Schiller in his context for so many people getting him in.
We might as well leave now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, when he was like, I've been waiting all year to see this movie, or 2 years or whatever it was. He literally was just like, 6. I will see it at every premiere possible. But no, I've been a massive Bond fan my entire life. I think it was the 3 genres of films that I watched a lot when I was a kid that sort of established who I am as a film critic and lover of cinema is Westerns, musicals, and James Bond films, which are all the polar opposites of one another, really, when you think about it. And
a Bond musical?
A Bond music. Hey, shoot to kill. No. I grew up watching the Connery films and the Roger Moore films with my dad and my grandfather. And then, of course, at that time when I was a kid, it was Pierce Brosnan. And I thought the Brosnan films were sort of just still spinoffs of that. But what Daniel Craig has done in the last 15 years is revolutionized what it means to be James Bond and who James Bond can be within the modern setting. And I think from Casino Royale to this has been a massive through line through nostalgia, through the lore of Bond, but also just understanding the grief and the sacrifice that it takes to drink the martinis and drive in the cars and hang out with the girls and have all the gadgets. There's more to that with this guy. And I think No Time to Die is the final chapter and final proof that Daniel Craig is the greatest James Bond to ever be in the tuxedo. I mean, he is 007 now. I think that for so long it was Sean Connery, the late great Sean Connery. But Craig has been the longest tenured Bond. He's been in 5 films that I think for the most part are good movies. And like, there's not a terrible one in the bunch. There's just a couple silly ones. Like most Bond films are, but there's also 2 stone cold masterpieces. And I think upon rewatch, I will grow to admire this film more and more. I think the direction's fantastic. The cinematography is a little below, but on par with Skyfall and what we got there. I think the performances are great across the board. Ana de Armas steals the show in her scene. I think Rami Malek is surprisingly great, but it really all just comes down to Daniel Craig, who made me sob by the end of this movie and sort of hope that whoever takes the mantle next can be half as effective as he is. He's the GOAT when it comes to this argument. And I will be taking no more questions and comments. So thank you. And that's my press conference. All right. Goodbye.
There we go. It's looking like a true man. Oh, man. I'm going to pass the torch over to Griffin because I know he is also one of the biggest James Bond fans out there. And I know, he loves to talk about it. I'm just going to pass it over to him. So
yeah,
go ahead
for sure.
Give us your initial reactions.
I think it's the perfect conclusion to an incredible and revolutionary reboot of this 60-year-old institution. Basically, I think what this film is it is the most Ian Fleming and least traditional James Bond movie that's ever been made. This movie actually cemented to me that Daniel Craig, even more so than Timothy Dalton, is the Fleming Bond. He really just understands the psychological nature of the character, and he interrogates it. He's able to comprehend the prose in Fleming's words. So many of the Bond films, and this is not a knock on them, but so many of the Bond films really focus on the superfluous elements, right? The World War III ending global plot, the bad guys, the women, all these other, just the iconography of James Bond that was, written in the Fleming novels and brought to life in the films. That's what so many of the movies sort of focus on. But the good ones really try and capture the heart of Fleming's work. But I don't think any of them even... I mean, yes, Casino Royale does because it's an adaptation, but even more so than that, I don't think any of the films really capture that as much as this movie does, and specifically the latter years of Fleming's life, where he's sort of, meditating on his own life, the kind of person he is, the kind of person he aspires to be. Is he capable of change? And I think that this those movies, he sort of just it's in this endless cycle of meditation, and there's no finality to it. And this movie is the extension of that. It's probably the closest adaptation of the You Only Live Twice novel, obviously with some creative liberties taken. It's also kind of a reverse On Her Majesty's Secret Service in a little bit, but more so than that, going back to the You Only Live Twice thing, this sort of feels like the next chapter of that book, right? Like the continuation of those ideas that Fleming was sort of ruminating on, but was never able to conclude because he, tragically passed. And so this film really, it puts a point to all of that. The question that he sort of was asking himself, it's like, what is life if you're not living, right? If you're not, changing, or you're content with the status quo, are you really you're just there with no time to die, basically, right? Like the title of the film is this sort of impossible situation. It's like, if you live forever, then you have no time to die because you have nothing that is nothing to lay your life down on the line for. But in this, with some, obviously not getting into spoilers, but with some of the stuff that happens, Bond finds a reason to live and a reason to make sacrifices and stuff like that. And this all sort of comes to a head in the third act climax. And so I just think so much of that on a deep level, Daniel Craig just beautifully captures. I know this is probably a controversial opinion, but I think the script is really good. I think it's each person involved with the writing didn't just usually when you get into a writer's room and you get all these cooks in the kitchen, you come up with something that's an unmitigated disaster. And we've seen that so many times, but everyone from Cary Fukunaga to Neal Purvis and Robert Wade to even the small contributions from Scott Z. Burns, even though he's uncredited. And then obviously Phoebe Waller-Bridge, everyone is adding in a new element and building upon what was previously laid down. And so when you get this, it is this just beautiful concoction of ideas. It's it's the essence of true collaboration. And I think that's why it works. And it's so poetic. Rami Malek's villain, Safin, I'll be honest, the first time I saw it, I thought he was the weak link. I thought he was a little undercooked. And while, maybe I would have liked a couple more scenes with him, on rewatch, I think he plays so much better. His motivations make so much more sense. His plan, the fact that he's basically James Bond's id. He is Bond in a lot of ways, except Bond sort of comes to understand that he's the problem. He's the poison, and it's not the other way around. The world isn't in the thing that wrong, and just sort of like contrasting and or comparing and contrasting how they deal with people and how they view relationships. It's really fascinating. I mean, usually when we get Bond villains that are just sort of they're just sort of the surface level opposite of Bond, right? Like someone like Scaramanga, while he's great, is just like, okay, he's just James Bond, but what if he was bad? There's not really like a subtextual level to it. And I think in a lot of ways, the Craig tenure has really sort of, he's made the villains have sort of become like Batman villains in a lot of ways. They represent like different parts of Bond's psyche and whatnot. I love how it connects to the Vesper storyline. I think that is so poetic and beautiful. Madeline Walks Away is like one of the best Bond women of all time. She's incredible. She really is almost like the lead of the film in a lot of ways. Ana de Armas, yeah, that entire Cuba scene is amazing.
It's an all-timer.
Like that is just such a blast. Lashana Lynch as Nomi, I love her relationship with M, with Bond, sort of how she has to realize her where she is in the system, and like how she's, the beginning of the film, she's basically M's henchman. When we get to the end of the film, she learns the same lesson that Bond learns, which is like the best way to be an agent of change, to be a good 00, is to have your own autonomy and make the right moral calls, basically. Yeah, man, and just like Cary Fukunaga, what he brings to the table as a filmmaker, the talent recruited, like Hans Zimmer, Lena Sandgren, like it's just, I agree with you, Ryan. It's definitely, I mean, Skyfall is like a once in a lifetime looking movie, but like this comes really close behind it.
No one's Deacons though.
No, yeah, I mean, look. even Linus would probably admit that he's not Deakins, but like this is probably
close. Yeah, it's one of the better looking Bond films of all time. Yeah, for sure. I'd say it's because I would say the second best usually is On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Yeah. I think this surpasses that. There's just a beautiful use of blue and everything, but I think just walking away. The film's commentary on legacy, not only just from a story standpoint and the character of Bond, but in a meta sense, the franchise, and just like, don't be the person you are, be the person you aspire to be. The franchise shouldn't be the franchise it was 60 years ago. It should be the franchise that it aspires to be. It's I don't know. It's a really, really beautiful capstone on a remarkable 15 years, and I was floored by it, to be quite honest with you.
All right, Devin, you got a lot.
He man.
Yeah, I'm glad I got this third hole.
Shit.
Devin, you have 10 seconds on the clock.
I'm actually really glad that we got you two to join us for that nuanced and knowledgeable perspective, because Christian and I, at least I believe Christian.
Don't tell him.
This is our first ever Bond movie.
film.
What?
How the fuck do you watch this without having watched the previous Craig movies?
I'm gone. Good night, everyone.
Yeah.
It might be a little foolish.
Well, okay, so I'll say this. Like, that's fine. I still think you can enjoy the movie, like most Bond movies. You can enjoy the movie on its own, but it's just like.
But most of the payoffs of the movie are the investment of 15 goddamn years.
I was going to get
I
into
agree.
that.
Yeah.
let him go.
Real.
Sorry, Devin. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you.
But yes, it might have been foolish to go in as the first ever Bond film, but we took the dive. And I have to say, I was thoroughly impressed. I mean, I agree with Ryan. I was actually tearing up towards the end there, and that's as impressive as it gets as far as storytelling for me, because I didn't have any background on these characters, on these stories, on any of it really, any of the lore or anything, and it still got me wrapped in with the last movie in the series. Like, that's seriously impressive to me. Like we mentioned, Ana de Armas just steals the show in her scene. As always, Rami Malek was surprisingly good to me. He's been on a cold streak here these past few roles he's had, but definitely came back.
He had the right
here.
teeth this time.
Yeah, there you go.
Life. So yeah, go ahead, Devin.
But yeah, I was so impressed with this that I went on Amazon today and bought the Blu-ray box set.
Hell yes.
For $60.
Yeah.
Let's go. See,
I think that's the thing I love.
That's the beauty of it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's the thing I love. Like it does like because this is while we're like teasing you and all stuff like that. For a lot of people, for a lot of younger people, not like you, but just like kids growing up and everything like that. This will be their first Bond film. Every Bond movie is someone's first Bond movie, and so in that respect, it shouldn't matter whether you've seen the previous 4 films or not. It just matters like does this film work on its own. And I think just like hearing you get excited about the franchise and like saying you went to like Amazon, you like bought the entire box set and everything like that. Like that's awesome. That's what makes these movies so special, because people find stuff in them that they like. People find certain elements of each interpretation that they sort of latch onto, and just listen. If it's a film that can create more Bond fans, then that's the biggest win that you could possibly hope for.
And it's also this movie, I think, also does the good job of wrapping a lot of the elements up of the last 4 films under the Craig era.
Yeah,
I still think it is a really good standalone.
But it is, yeah,
and I think that was without, I know Christian's got to go here in a second, but
no, you're fine.
But that was one of the problems I had with Spectre, even though I still, as a Bond fan, appreciate that movie because it mostly is like the most fan servicey Bond film of all time, in my opinion. Is that movie is trying so much to do so many things without actually just being one thing. And I think that this movie, maybe it is because they brought in Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who is a genius. Maybe it is, Cary Fukunaga being the steady hand behind all this. Maybe it is because they knew that this is Daniel Craig's last one and he ain't coming back to do it anytime soon, that they had to make sure that they wrapped up small elements that they had, but it was sort of the best elements that they could wrap up is what they used here in order to then create a really solid story. Like that's the thing about like Skyfall. Skyfall still continues the story, but it ultimately is still a standalone mission. Like Skyfall is the culmination of not just the end of the Craig era, but it's also the end of really the Brosnan era too, with Judi Dench. So, and her character. So you have all these elements that I think really work well for Bond fans like myself and like Griffin, and then casual or new Bond fans like yourselves, where you guys can come in and, like Griffin said, this is your first experience with the character. I would stay away from the Roger Moore era, but that's my opinion. But
no, I definitely agree.
Good to know.
Like, look, it's there are good movies in there, and I think there's a lot to take away from them, but I also think it's just the most dated era. So
there's a ghetto blaster. The ghetto blaster.
Yeah.
While an idea of like a rocket coming out of a boombox is cool, to call it a ghetto blaster is dated as hell. It's
wow.
Yeah. And then the rest of the racial politics in that film aside too are terrible. So anyway, we don't need that history lesson.
So Devin, I have one question. Did you buy the collection for the pod for this show?
No, I mean, it did happen to pop up on Twitter. It's on sale for $60. So.
Yeah, he actually sent it
pretty
to me.
good.
Nice.
Wait, that's the box set though. It doesn't have Spectre in it, right? Or does it have Spectre in it?
It's the 24 before this one.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah. I'm tempted. Oh no, it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does have Spectre. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Cool. Now you can watch.
Yeah,
Spectre.
24 films on Blu-ray from Dr. No to Spectre. Yep.
I'm glad we were able to drop that bomb on you guys, and you guys took it in stride.
I think we took it well. I think
it is cool to have that perspective though, because it just shows how impressive this film actually was to turn somebody who's never seen a single one into such a believer.
I'm tempted to buy it. I think I will. I mean,
he's doing it right now.
I do have it pulled up on Amazon. Right, it is in my cart.
It's a good deal.
It is a really good deal. Like, I mean, some people are like, oh, it's not 4K, and it's like, well, I mean, so what? Like, I mean, you still have the movies. It's like you're not the average eye. Like with average TVs nowadays, you're not going to be able to tell the difference, unless you have like a super like high end TV. But yeah, so like Devin said, cat's out of the bag. This is our first Bond film, and much like we reviewed The Many Saints of Newark, we've never seen The Sopranos, but we still reviewed that movie. Mainly because I mean that was more of like our parents' age. Like that was like their HBO show.
Yeah,
So
I rewatched the whole thing and I haven't gotten to it yet, but the movie yet. But yeah,
sorry.
That's what everyone said, and I'm like, well, did I just waste 6 seasons of my life?
Probably.
Maybe no, but I really did. I enjoyed it. When I saw the runtime, I'm not gonna lie, I did my heart almost stopped. But then again, I was like, this is his last movie, and you know what? I've sat through multiple watchings of Lord of the Rings extended while watching, Avengers Infinity War. I'm like, if I can watch that in a theater, I can watch this for sure. Like at first, I was like, oh my god. I was like, well, no, this actually does make sense. But I actually kind of enjoyed it. And I was talking to one of my friends about it. I was like, yeah, like for the longest time, I've just never really been like a big thriller fan. But then I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, if this was like a Black Widow movie instead of like James Bond, like everything that happened, I'm like, I would have been like, hell yeah. Okay, like let's go. So I'm like, okay, I can definitely get into this genre. I've never really seen a Fallout. I mean, not Fallout. What was it? Mission Impossible. I saw Fallout Mission Impossible, but that's the only one. I haven't seen the others. Or Jason Bourne.
Still. I mean, you saw Fallout, but you didn't see Rogue Nation or.
It was in the early days of our podcast. We were reviewing. We never got to Fallout. Ooh. I don't think we did, David. We watched it for Henry Cavill. That is why we watched it.
Okay, that's fair.
For the Cavill.
He is really great in it. But
he really is. But
this is killing me on the inside.
I'm sorry. He's like, Christian invited me on this. He hasn't seen a single
was this to be like the reveal of all reveals of like how like my heart just keeps getting broken? Like maybe. 3 great franchises.
Christian just hates spies.
Like Griffin's just silent over there. He's just befuddled. He's just like, I don't know how I can handle it.
Yeah.
I really did like No Time to Die. It was action packed. There's a few jump scares in there as well. I was just like,
Cary Fukunaga really brings. I mean, he brings that like horror element that he's kind of been in before. I mean, he co-wrote It Chapter 1 because he was originally supposed to direct it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, True Detective has a lot of like true crime thrills and stuff in it. Beasts of No Nation. I mean, he's got a real knack for like unsettling imagery. Like the opening of this movie is basically like a fucking Michael Myers slasher type thing.
Seriously,
I mean, Safin in both like subtextually and like in the way that he's presented to the audience is kind of like this Dracula like figure. I like there's a really haunting use of like red lighting in a couple of sequences. Like, oh yeah, and then the Land Rover chase in Norway. Like there's a lot of really
like the stuff in the woods.
Yeah, like that. Really, I mean, cool. It's like this art house, like John Rambo's sort of like Predator mashup. That's well,
Griffin. Even
amazing.
like when Blofeld, when they are having the interaction with Blofeld, when he is coming into the room, that could just be like, okay, bing bang boom, he's in it. The camera moves so slowly to the reveal of Christoph Waltz. To me, I'm like, okay, this is what Blofeld should always be. Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But at the same time, it's just funny. He's so petty. He just knows how to like get under Bond's skin.
It's so great.
Incredible. Yeah. It's so good. Yeah,
that's the problem I had with Spectre is like that character is not fully that person yet. In this movie, it's perfectly that character that we've known from the past of being exactly under Bond's skin. Even though Bond's like, no, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I really, really did. Phoebe Waller-Bridge kind of stole the show for me. And then, just having that entire like, prequel scene, just like the opening scene that was just very, very much its own small little like short story. And then, okay, I was waiting for Billie Eilish and her song because I love me some Billie Eilish. Absolutely love me some Billie Eilish. I think her and her brother Phineas, I think they did a great job with this.
That song really goes well with the tone and theme of the entire film. And it just reminded me of, well, I mean, most Bond films use the core song of the film as sort of the shape of its score. But it just really reminded me a lot of like Skyfall for that.
Yeah.
Because of when you have this just massively talented pop star and they knock a song like this out of the park, then it's kind of hard for you not to want to sprinkle it sort of throughout the film. And it's just, man, it's really good. Like I hated the song on its own, and then and that was when it first came out, and I was like, I don't know if this works. And then and then it took 7 years to see this movie. and then I was obviously waiting for it, and it just plays so much better on the big screen in the credits and everything. Just like I think Adele's song plays better when you're watching Skyfall. Just so it's like, yeah, it's perfect. It's a perfect beginning because you go from literally that opening scene with Rami to then the chase sequence and the train sequence and everything with that. It's and then this movie moves forward, and I was genuinely shocked. And I know we're not in spoilers, but I won't say when, but I was shocked by at least 2 or 3 times in this movie, some decision making by the screenwriters in Cary Fukunaga.
Get into spoilers now if you want to.
I mean, if you want.
Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, really quick. Oh, sorry. Let me try that again. That is your first spoiler warning here on the show again.
All right.
That is your
first and only one. First and only one. All right. James Bond dies. There you go. Kill him off at the end. He's fucking gone.
I knew
See
he
ya.
was.
And you know
I
what?
knew he was done. I knew he was done.
That's not like a joke. It actually happens.
No, it actually happens. Yeah, they actually killed him.
He had time to die.
He had some time to die. It was a 2.5 hour runtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The boy lit up like the 4th of July. I was like, wow.
I mean, before I got into that, I will say the time jump from 5 years in this film, I was like, holy shit, I didn't know a Bond movie could do a time jump. Great. It's like one of the first.
Saying, man, the series is always thinks that it has to do the same thing over and over again, and there is a template, and I think that's why. I mean, this is why it's been able to last as long as it has, because the template can be molded and expanded, and you can push the envelope or you can dial it back and all stuff like that. It's a good template, but I also think that you can work within that to subvert what you usually do. For me, this movie, and I know it's going to be as divisive as the film I'm about to bring up. It's this movie is in a lot of ways a better version of The Last Jedi because it operates.
Wait a minute.
I genuinely do. I do believe this because
The Last Jedi is a great movie. This is a great movie too. So I don't know where.
I don't like The Last Jedi.
Well, of course you don't.
Let me finish. So the point I'm trying to make is I think that this movie does a better job of subverting the expectations, but still feeling like the characters and the people and the natural sort of way things would go, but they take risks and stuff with that in a better way, just a more natural way, in my opinion. Whereas The Last Jedi sort of makes these decisions. Some of them feel out of character, whatever. I mean, look, this is just sort of my take.
Second best Star Wars movie ever made.
It's really funny.
I'm sure there's a lot of people who agree with you. Again, I don't care about whatever about that one. But at least for me, it just kind of shows that you can operate within the confines of a template, but still do things new. And it's the first time in, probably since I saw Casino Royale where I was watching a Bond movie and I was just oh, anything can happen. All bets are off. And they really go there. So.
Yeah. I mean, this movie does things that, I mean, you said it earlier, Griffin, where this movie is a modern retelling in a lot of ways, and even a further step of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is a book that I love and a movie that I think is not great. Because I think On Her Majesty's Secret Service has a terrible James Bond in Lazenby. And I think if it was Sean Connery in the role, it would have been much better. Like it was originally sort of tried and planned. I think that would have just made sense. But this movie does the thing the most where it takes things that we've never thought that James Bond would ever be able to do. have a relationship that lasts longer than 2 films.
I was actually going to ask, how far back does Madeline go?
She goes back to Spectre.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That was the one before No Time to Die.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course there is the reveal midway through of the fact that there's a child involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like, wait, what the fuck? Yeah. Like, what are we?
I didn't know if that was new or not. I was like, oh,
no, that's
not a kid.
That's not in there. And then, I mean, of course, there is but it's all organic. It all feels real. It's all the sacrifices that you sort of had to add to what Griffin was saying, where it's like, by the end, everything he's doing, Bond is always doing things for the country, for the world. And really, by the end, he's mostly doing it for the people he loves. He is doing it to save the world, but he is also doing it because of the selfishness of wanting to not carry on his personal, like the man's legacy, but his legacy of his child and of the woman he loves, and saving his, he knows that the world will be okay with Lashana Lynch as 007. And so there are decisions that he sort of makes within this film that are it's just the right thing to do. And it's this is, I saw some people's comments and I wanted to punch him in the face.
I'm still seeing comments that are making me like almost want to punch someone in the face.
Very angry of like calling Daniel Craig soft. In this movie, he's soft, and this Bond is soft, and he's a pussy, and all this different stuff.
Yeah.
And
I figured that would come out.
And to me, I go, yeah, some of you are saying this have children. I know that. And you would do the exact same damn thing that he is doing to save. And there isn't an agenda behind this movie and all this different stuff, because the Bond that is of the past that a lot of people know is gone. We will never have that again. Get that out of your head. Like, what the Pierce Brosnan era broke that template, in my opinion. Die Another Day killed the sort of, laid back,
Playboy billionaire philanthropist.
Exactly. It's sort of like, the way that like that character was misinterpreted for years on the screen from the books. This is a more grounded, realistic version of what a Bond should be. Someone that grapples with pain, with age, with knowledge that the system is not easily put together. It is a broken system. Like, this guy has literally over time been proven time and time again that the system that he's supposed to sit idly by in 100% defense has taken him and sort of used him as a cog in a machine, when he's more than that. He's he's the only reason that the machine still exists. And I find it fascinating that, like, in this movie, he is still a badass. Like, there is, in Skyfall, there takes a while for him to get back to being the badass, and it's all the emotional recovery and what makes that movie so great. Yeah, this movie is just straight up like, nope, I can turn the switch on whenever the hell I want. I can be that super spy you want me to be. I choose not to. And and that's what's so fascinating about this, is that he can walk away, but when the danger comes back, he's Bond. He's running around. He's getting in the cars. I mean, they're shooting at, I think the sequence at the beginning where he thinks Madeline's betrayed him, he's so pissed in that moment at her.
Yeah.
But like, he knows how many bullets it's going to take for that car, like, gets, going. And then, and then
I love how petty
like,
he is.
yeah, he's just like,
so
okay. Yeah. Now I can be, fine. I'll be.
Well, it's that dominance thing, right? Like, he wants to make her feel the way that he's sort of feeling, that fear, that like need to look over your shoulder. He's such he's like a teenager throwing a temper tantrum in that point. He's like reverting back to like how he was when Vesper betrayed him. And I think the way they sort of like do that, by having him go to visit Vesper's grave to finally let go of her so that he can, literally let the past die so he can, move forward with his life and be with this woman that he's, fallen in love with. The second he starts to do that and things go awry, he immediately reverts back to, this happened with Vesper, so all women are like this, all people are like this, and he has to learn that no, that's not true. There are other factors at play, like your own insecurities, your toxicity. That's the problem. And so I think the fact that, like, when you get to the end and he's like definitely progressed a lot as a human being, he's willing and able to admit his faults. Like the fact that like Safin poisons him and he makes the choice to stay and die is the literalization of the fact that it's like, no, I'm done pushing my own problems, my own toxicity onto other people. I'm gonna own up to the fact that like it's literally, this poison is literally on me, and it's like my duty to, you know, not shove it onto other people. I mean, it's just like, it's just such beautiful and emotional writing. And I think, yeah, it's just it's a great ending, and he leaves, you know, knowing that there is a legacy in his daughter to have a better life. It's like the legacy is kind of on a couple of different fronts, right? Like he leaves being the hero that, you know, he's been the hero in the past. He's done heroic things, but it's also sort of like, is he necessarily a hero? Has he made selfless decisions? And I think that's a thing that he sort of grapples with for a lot of his tenure as Bond. So you get to this film and he actually becomes the hero. It is it's really powerful. And then also just like sort of on a global standpoint, showing the need for people to listen to one another, to be willing to make changes for the betterment of like future generations. Like, I mean, I go back to that line in Skyfall where M is like, I'll be damned if I leave the department in worse hands than when I found it. I mean, that is literally a message that Craig in this film sort of, you know, puts into action, and really a nice metaphor, or not a metaphor, but just a nice line that kind of encompasses Craig's tenure as Bond. I mean, he's put it in a better place than when he picked it up. Yeah. And then also just like letting his family live a you know, beautiful life. You know, they now have all the time in the world because he's gifted that to him. And now Craig, who's kind of been like burdened by this internal damnation, this like purgatory he's been living in, can now finally rest. And it's a really just like, it's a very melancholy sort of thing, right? But that's the Fleming of it all. That's what I think is so beautiful about it. It's why it touches you. It's like real, it's sincere, but it's like, I don't know. It's, again, I'm probably getting very like passionate and flowery about a lot of these things, but this is what sort of like strikes me as why this movie is so special.
It's my favorite kind of Griffin, when he's just passionate about that.
Nice flowery.
Yeah, he's nice and flowery, like baking a cake. No, but I agree. And also too, I just gotta say this: this movie is funny. Like there is great dark humor that is so Phoebe Waller-Bridge. If you have seen any of her work, Killing Eve, Fleabag, anything, you know she's in this, and it's so great that Craig was the champion to bring her on, because I don't just feel her in like the comic. I feel her in a lot of the emotional moments. I feel that she took an entire run through this whole script.
1,000%. Like when the reports are coming out that's like, oh, she's punching up the female characters, I was like, that's bullshit. No, I'm like, she's punching up the dialogue for every single character.
Considering
and she's
the
gonna
fact
take a
that
pass
like,
of the story.
Majority of this movie is female characters, to be honest with you, then that means the entire script. Like, I mean, and I think that the one thing I will say is like, I don't think Léa Seydoux really is that great in this performance. I think the character is extremely well written, and I think it sort of corrects a lot of the mistakes of Spectre. I think this movie does a lot of course correcting of that movie, just from like a logistics standpoint, action standpoint. Like that movie is just fun to watch if you have it on mute. But I just think that there's something, I don't know if she has 100% the chemistry with Daniel Craig to carry some of these scenes, especially in the third act. Like the final conversation that they have with one another was a little painful for me to watch. Not just because of like I knew where it was going with Craig, but to see her sort of carry those lines. If it was maybe a different actress, I think I would have been able to fully invest in it. But not like Griffin, I haven't seen the movie 45 times. So maybe on the second go around or the third or the 200th or whatever, like I'll be able to bypass that because even in this first viewing, I watched it and I got, man, that's a really well written scene, written, performance. Craig's knocking it out of the park because obviously I think Daniel Craig is one of the better actors we have working today. He's just been sort of sidelined into, when you're part of a franchise like this, there's not a lot really that you can or can't do, but he's made this character so much better than anyone before because he was a great actor before and he's going to be a great actor later on. Like that's the thing about having a Bond come to replace him is you need to first and foremost have a really great actor to play that role. And because then you can surround them with whoever you want. If you buy into that person and them being this character, then that works wholeheartedly. And with him dying at the end of this, one, it kills that whole rumor that James Bond is just like a name and, it sort of, passes on to person. That I thought that was a stupid theory.
Funding theory is fucking awful.
It's just stupid.
It's the worst. Yeah.
So like you get to really start from scratch and you really get to do things with this character, I think, in the next go around with an entire new cast, an entire setup. If you want to have the same characters, that's great, but you get to reinvent this again. And I think that is where we're headed. I think we're headed for some of the best days to be a fan of this franchise. And I think you two coming into this right now, it's the best time because it is on every sort of transition was always dirty within this franchise. Like the ending of this has always been like the person didn't want to give it up or they replaced them and it was not on amicable terms. Craig finally was the one where it's like, no, we're all going to end this at the same time and we'll all do this. And, we don't want a bad taste in our mouth. And I think that they fully succeeded in making a great film, letting this be, his moment to shine. They'll figure that out, all that stuff next year and we'll speculate as to who we want it to be. But this movie, I remember everyone sort of like, it's 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's not really even wasted. Like there aren't moments wasted in this. I would even venture to say, and this is just me, I would love, like you said, Griffin, more scenes with Safin, more things fleshed out. Like I would have loved a 3-hour cut of this movie.
I don't.
This movie is like, this movie has so much it's giving us that even like the stuff that I still want, I'm like, wow, I think we're cherry picking the fact that we got a lot here and there's could have been more. And it's like, well, aren't those same people that say that they want more all the time? Like I hate 3-hour movies. So it's like, so it's like,
always,
like,
always.
You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
Because I don't know of a way to take it all out because like, then there's like the emotional stuff with Jeffrey Wright and Felix that pays off. There's the stuff with M and the betrayal there with Mallory. It's like,
not to spend too much time on the Jeffrey Wright Felix stuff, but that's an underrated aspect of the film that hasn't been talked about enough. I mean, like the scene in the bar in Cuba where they're like, we get to see them as friends for like the first time.
Because it's always been like on the job and like, it's finally like from the Connery era, like the first, or even like the Dalton era where it's like, we get to actually see Felix be like a human being.
Yeah.
Like, even though he wants him to be in this mission, like they're joking, they're having a drink. It's like a little bit more relaxed, even though the world's about to end. I kind of wanted to get one thing to ask you guys because I'm still debating it because the one flaw I had with the film is the quote unquote virus or the scam or the
I was a little confused about that. I'm not gonna lie.
I wasn't even confused. I was like, oh my God, I understand why they delayed this movie. This is fucking COVID, like straight up. Like
even if you want to take that
for that,
and
if you want to have guessed that, there's
like
no way. I was
where,
like, oh my God, there's going to be, and it's guys, it's going to happen. There are going to be a ton of conspiracy theories now. Once people see this movie, that MGM and Daniel Craig and the Brits, they all knew about COVID and this and that and that. And I'm just going to go, no, that is a just terrible coincidence. It is terrible. But it is also like, to use it in a movie, it's like, yeah, it's scary as shit. Like it's also like that movie Dark Waters with Mark Ruffalo, where they talk about like Teflon, right, and the chemicals and we consume on when we cook on pans and stuff. Like, and then I watched John Oliver this week, and I'm like, oh God, now I don't ever want to cook in my house again.
It's happening.
Yeah, it's like that's what this movie really is too. And so I'm sorry, I've talked a lot. I've rambled a lot. I'm sorry.
The last thing I'll say to Ryan's point about the COVID allegory, and then I'll shut up too. I mean, literally down to the point where like Bond has to say goodbye to his family away from his family, and
6 feet apart.
Infected.
6 feet apart.
Yeah, he's been infected with the virus. Like it's just,
if only there was like a video call or something like that, like on FaceTime, I would have just been like, son of a bitch.
Come on, kid.
Yeah. Oh man.
Self-service out there.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll let you guys finish.
No, it's fine. Like I wanted to bring both of you guys because I know you're both big Bond fans. I know I talked to Ryan about having him on the show, and he asked if we were going to cover it. And I just sit there and think, I'm like, oh, are we going to cover it? And I asked Devin, he's like, I mean, it'd be stupid not to. I'm like,
yeah, why the fuck would you not? It's like the biggest movie in the world.
Too, yeah.
It's the biggest movie in the world for 2 more weeks.
Yeah, for 2 more weeks, and then we get
maybe
we get the last duel.
The last duel.
Yeah, Halloween Kills. Gonna
and Halloween Kills. It's
Halloween, dude. I'm not feeling the hype for Halloween Kills. Like
I'm not either.
Yeah,
I know people are watching it on Peacock at home. I'm like,
trust me.
Oh yeah,
it's it'll be divisive, but if you like the slasher films, if you like it, it'll be good. You'll like it.
Yeah,
I'm stoked on it. Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah. Devin, did you have last thought?
I was just gonna say, do we want to wrap this up on? You guys have a short list on your potential next Mr. Bond.
Yeah, I know exactly who I want.
Who?
And it's not even close. I don't even have a short list. It's one person.
Oh,
it's one person. That's it. I don't, and Griffin will probably laugh at me, and
I know who it is. I don't laugh. I'm not going to laugh at you. You're not alone in this opinion.
There's only one person, and it's perfect. It is the perfect casting. You want to have a great actor take over for a great actor. He's not in any big franchise whatsoever where he's the face of it. Even though he's won an Oscar, most people don't, in a household name, know him more than, oh, he's the Get Out guy. Like most people, and most of his prominent roles are that he is an American, not someone from Britain. So I would think Daniel Kaluuya is the only choice. I think also you would have Idris Elba as M, and M sort of recruits and trains Bond and sort of have him go toe to toe. So you can have like that. There was the hints of Mallory in the Ralph Fiennes character being in the field before as well. So I think that would be very interesting for them to do. And then therefore you can have people shut the hell up about Idris Elba being in a James Bond movie. And I think for a villain, I mean just anybody at this point. Like I would love it to be like they don't even go back to the books or anything. They just create a villain that maybe carries on that isn't Blofeld. That it's just maybe somebody of his age that lingers for a couple of films. I would, I know that there's been rumors of like Nolan and Villeneuve who have always, wanted to make that. I really think that even Cary Fukunaga coming back or branching it out and giving it over, like to me personally, the hottest director, British director right now to me is Steve McQueen. And like, if you had a Daniel Kaluuya, Steve McQueen widows reunion to make a Bond film, holy hell! Like, I mean, who wouldn't buy a ticket for that now? And talk about being already in your mind the most beautiful Bond film you've ever seen, right?
Yeah.
And I think that would be a really good, interesting. But I know that everyone's got your Henry Cavills and your Richard Maddens and of the world out
Yeah.
there. To me, I think that those are the safe traditional picks. And I think what this movie showed is they aren't going to go down that safe route anymore. I think with Lashana Lynch, I mean, they're obviously not going to make a female Bond. I think that, that those comments have been made out there, and, it is what it is. And I sort of agree with them. I just think we should create a Bond for a woman, like, and create a franchise that carries on for 60 years that multiple people can play. Do something like that rather than just like this, like both. So then both worlds exist. But yeah, I think that they are going to go in a forward motion towards something we've never seen before, which is a non-traditional looking James Bond.
Okay. Griffin, what about you?
Well, I probably won't be as thorough with my answer as Ryan, but
some of us come prepared.
Well, I didn't know that was, I didn't look at the show notes. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
No, I for picks, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, definitely, what Ryan said, like, there's a reason like Henry Cavill is like popular for like fan casting, because of, he was a Man from U.N.C.L.E. and he was great in that. He was also in the running for Bond. It's like, look, I don't think he would be a bad Bond. I think he'd be great, actually. I think he's a little too
he's big. Like, he's
big dude.
Well, yeah, he's big.
Boy.
That's fine.
He can be like Jaws. Like at this
yeah,
point.
he could be
Like,
Jaws.
He's not gonna be like him as Bond. I'm just like, damn, that is.
He's been catering to us nerds out there.
To me, he's Superman. Like, that's the thing. He's
He can't
be Superman and Bond. That's a little ridiculous.
You can't be the face of like two franchises, even if he's like Superman anymore.
Right.
I honestly think I have been a big proponent of Henry Golding as Bond.
I was going to say that as well.
I would agree with you, Griff, and then I saw Snake Eyes.
Yeah, but that's not on him at all. That's
he's in his
tryout. Yeah,
I mean, he's in it.
Pierce Brosnan did a lot of bad movies.
Yeah,
too,
that's
so
true.
It's like, it's.
How dare you? I would know Mrs. Doubtfire slander on here.
Oh no, I wouldn't dare slander Mrs. Doubtfire. That's an excellent film. No, I just think Henry Golding's got like the full package, and I think the one thing that Snake Eyes did show me is that he can have a darker side to him, which is, I think, necessary when you're casting a Bond character. But other than that, I mean, he's got the looks, the swagger, like the presence, the chops. I think the next take is going to be slightly lighter than what we've seen before. I don't think we'll ever get back to like the lightness of Pierce Brosnan or Roger Moore, but I could see them, bringing in some of those more traditional elements while also pushing the franchise forward just for a new take. And I think Henry Cavill shows that he's capable of doing that. Someone that I actually just have started thinking about and seeing them in the role, just like after seeing them in a couple of series lately. I think he's a brilliant actor, tremendously underrated, is Rahul Kohli from Midnight Mass.
Yeah.
I just think like dude, he is such a fucking good actor, and he's like rugged. He's like he's unrefined in some aspects, but then he's like, I think what Midnight Mass showed me is that he can be internal. He can be tormented and tortured, and like also he's like funny. Like I don't know. He's just like, I think he'd be a incredible James Bond, and is someone I didn't even think about until I really sat down and I just watched Midnight Mass and a bunch of other things, and
he's fantastic on that show.
Yeah. He'd be a great inspired pick. So those are my
I mean, there's also the Dev Patel of the world, or the Nicholas Hoult I even read. And I if they were going to go the traditional route, Dan Stevens would be someone that I would consider.
Oh, dude, Dan Stevens would own it.
I mean, that guy, he's in everything, and he's the best thing about everything. Like, The Guest is an audition piece to play Bond, like straight up. Like, I just watching that movie and go, oh hell yeah, like this guy gets it. And so yeah, I there's so many avenues they could go down. I'm sure none of the names we mentioned will be that. Craig wasn't, it was all Clive Owen at the time. Everyone wanted Clive Owen. And Craig was not it was sort of like what happened with Ledger's Joker. He was considered like oh, this is the guy. I remember everyone was like, oh, they got Blondie over there.
Yeah.
And then it turns out to be the best. So, you know, I'm sure, you know, Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson will make the right decision. There's no way you are going to please everyone with this decision. They just need to get the best person with the best director to make this first film. And I think that because they had the script already for Casino Royale before they had Craig. So develop that, get that going at the same time, and give that Bond the same creative control you gave Daniel Craig for so many years.
Yeah.
Really quick, Devin, who would you think? And then we'll kind of wrap.
I mean, I'm also all in on Henry Golding, and I think Ryan might have convinced me for some Daniel Kaluuya. That sounds pretty good to me.
Seriously,
I will also add in.
All he has to do to go to that meeting is put an Oscar on the table.
I'll also add, unrelated, but can we get a new Bond game anytime soon?
The guys behind the Hitman series are coming out with a game next year.
Oh,
they are.
There we go.
I saw that.
Give me that.
Thank
I mean,
God.
007.
I was a big GoldenEye fan, so.
GoldenEye, love that.
It was just the N64 controller was terrible. My gosh, it's one of the worst controllers out there. Really quick, everyone's kind of took all the other picks. I'd like to see a younger face, either like Tom Hiddleston or even John Boyega. I think will be really good in the role. I know
Boyega will never do it. No.
Yeah,
they ain't gonna get it. After everything that happened with Star Wars. No one's gonna hand him a franchise anytime soon.
He was done so dirty. I'm not gonna.
He was done dirty, but
should have been a Jedi. Should have been with Rey. That's all.
But also too, like you got to play the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to play the game.
This is like, I mean, I think Bond is so crazy because like this is not only defines an icon for the entire world. It is a figure that defines an entire country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That is very true.
It's like on the television equivalent of that is Doctor Who over there. Mm-hmm. It's a giant event. So whoever does it, these are people that most likely down the road get knighted by the Queen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
True.
Or future king.
Yeah,
so
it's UK pride.
It's huge. Pride. So like whoever, they've got to also play a little bit of ball. And I love Boyega as an actor, but
give me some Tom Hiddleston, then. That's all I gotta say. I think he's pretty cool.
Loki and Bond.
Busy.
Loki he's a very suave man as Loki. Give him some Loki, Loki Bond.
That's true. I mean, it's got to be somebody in the lower to mid 30 range.
Yeah.
So then they can carry it.
Need someone young enough.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I've never been a big fan of the Hiddleston Bond casting. I just think,
wow, you're on his show. He brings a suggestion, and this is what you did. That's not right.
Christian, you're wrong. I'm just gonna say
Chris Hemsworth. Let's get some Australians in here.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that'll never. happen.
They're technically they're still underneath the crown.
What was it? I heard the other night someone said it was Kimmel. I think that was like, what if he asked Craig, what if an American did it? Because we had literally Daniel Day-Lewis play Abraham Lincoln. And I sat there and I went, that'll never happen. Like there's
straight up.
That'll never. Yeah. It's also like that's the greatest actor probably of our lifetime. Like it's so he can do whatever he wants. It's not a transformative role. I don't want to hear an American do a bad accent, even though there are some Americans that could pull it off.
Emma Stone is one of them. Just want to throw it out there.
Yeah.
I think she does a great British accent.
She would have been good.
Yeah, she would.
But again, they're not going to have female. No. Like, true. In a great world, Rachel Weisz would have been a great James Bond. You know what I mean? Like literally, But, if you just watch Black Widow, I guess you could see that. But
yeah, that is true. But yeah, let's close out here because I know everyone has, busy things to do on a Friday. I just want to thank you guys both, Ryan and Griffin, for coming on. Really quick, let everyone know where they can find you on the internet. We'll start with Ryan, and then we'll go over to Griffin, and then we'll just close on out and get on out of here.
You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Ryan McQuaid77. You can find my work at Awards Watch, In Session Film Speak over there for Mr. Filler. And Awards Radar. I'm pretty much everywhere. And thank you guys. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Devin, for having us on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be on. Grevin?
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Griff Schiller. You can also head on over to filmspeak.net. You can see the great, pieces written by people like Ryan and the rest of the contributors over there. You can also head on over to the Filmspeak channel, which is where I predominantly make content. And we got a lot of great Bond videos out right now. And then we're also going to have 2 more great Bond videos, one on Casino Royale and then one on No Time to Die coming very soon. You can also find my interviews and my interview podcast over at the playlist.
All right. And of course, for us here on the channel, you can follow us over on Film Optix. That is Optix with an X on Instagram and Twitter. And coming up, we have our Harry Potter 20th anniversary. We're going to be going through the entire series. We'd love to have you guys back on for a movie or two. We're going to be starting off with Sorcerer's Stone, of course, coming up this October 13th. That will be dropping. We got JD coming on the channel, Ryan. We'll split you guys up.
Yeah, hopefully, get your tissue boxes ready, folks. Those JD tears are going to be flying everywhere if they're talking about nostalgia and movies and stuff. No, that'll be great. I can't wait to listen to that.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So we have that, and of course, our Halloween Kills and Last Duel will be coming up later on. So yeah, let's get on out of here. I'll close this out. And again, thank you guys so much for coming on. Like, keep doing the great work you guys are doing. And it's a crazy, it's a crazy month, like we said, and it's not going to get any easier, but we all push through. If we got through March, honestly, like, I thought that was going to kill me. I can get through this month.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, let's close out of here really quick. And that's a wrap for today, everyone. Thank you all for listening, and leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts if you enjoy the show, and follow us on Twitter to stay in the know about all things movie and TV. That was Devin, Ryan, Griffin, and my name is Christian. We'll see you guys in the next one.